Welcome to Next Time Around, brought to you by Powerverse, the podcast where we take on the big questions of the green transition and explore how the world is changing for a cleaner, brighter future. We're your hosts, Lauren Forster
and Richard Britton,
and we'll be diving into the tech, the policies and the big ideas that are reshaping industries and people's lives. Whether it's cutting-edge technology or shifting priorities, we're here to figure out what it all means for you and the world that we're building for tomorrow. So get ready as we take a fresh look at how changes today are laying the groundwork for a better next time around.
How's your week been?
My week has been very good. This is our first podcast, so we've spent a lot of time fleshing out what it's supposed to be like and how we can use it to help people understand more about energy.
Yeah, it's a bit different from what we do normally, isn't it? So it's a bit of a learning curve, but quite exciting. And what it's meant for me is having to spend a bit more time doing the research that I would normally pick up as I go along, let's say, in the job. And so it's a good education exercise. So what's our theme this week, Lauren? What are we talking about?
So we are going to do a dive into the challenges that people are facing when it comes to energy and the impacts that it is having on them and their lives.
I think it's a great topic. First time I got involved in the business we've now launched was just around the time of the energy crisis.
Yeah.
And everything was going wrong in terms of energy supply and how much people were paying for their electricity and the kind of heating versus eating. And whilst things move on, we still have the kind of the spectre of the energy price cap. We have all of the volatility around supply and all the changes that are happening. So I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation.
One of the main things that we want to help people with is how they can get more control of their energy. There's a lot of external factors that impact people and their lives on a daily basis, like things that are going on around in the world. And actually what we want to be able to do is give people the insights on how they can better improve their energy consumption and give them more control of their bills.
Absolutely, because the electricity bill in people's lives have been getting bigger and bigger, and it's not set to get any smaller. You know, the way government are changing the rules on things like the cars that we drive, everyone will be shifting to electric. And when that happens, that's on our electricity bills. People are going to be changing the way they heat their homes to using heat pumps and, surprise, surprise, run on electricity as well, which is great because it does mean we can get to a cleaner life.
Yep.
But it's also hard because most of this stuff's quite complicated, isn't it? And people struggle, frankly, with that shift. And then they're kind of at the mercy of what's going to happen in the markets that put together the price of the electricity they use. Obviously, the biggest thing that's affecting what people are paying for their electricity is in the UK is the energy price cap. But when we think about that, it is a good proxy for what are the things that make up the cost of energy.
Yeah. To outline what the energy price cap is, it is a regulation put in place by Ofgem that allows people who are on a variable tariff to not be charged extortionate prices. So it essentially caps the cost per unit. So it's fairer for people.
That is a very important point to make, seeing as we're trying to make this stuff simpler for people. And if we weren't in the slightly, let's say, niche bubble that we're in of working in energy, then we probably wouldn't know that. So the sort of things that will be setting that cap, from what I did with my brief research, it comes down to the volatility of the wholesale price of energy, doesn't it? Which means, from a supply side, what's available on the market? Is there good access to wind and to solar and to nuclear? But also what's happening in the sort of traditional energy markets around oil and hydrocarbons as well, which obviously have a big impact on pricing. And that's what's been so changeable because of the political climate over the last year or so.
Absolutely. With the energy cap, it changes frequently. So every 3 months, the price of it will be reassessed, and then that cost will either increase or decrease for the consumer. So a fun fact is that last year in 2023, a household was generally paying £2,500 per year under the price cap. So that
doesn't sound much fun to me.
It is not fun. And giving consumers more control over that is something that we want to be able to do as part of our business.
And I think that's right, because not only is the kind of wholesale price of energy going to change some of those short-term things, as you say, the price cap gets looked at every 3 months and probably comes down to the sort of market volatility, but there's some much longer running changes happening as well. There's big cost in shifting across to solar, shifting across to wind, where our part of Europe's particularly good at generating wind energy. And so with those costs coming in and with the intermittency of that supply, it's making changes and requiring changes to the way the grid's set up as well. So we all switch on the kettle, but we do that with electricity coming down the line, which has come from a nuclear power plant or from a wind turbine or wherever. But ultimately, with those varying sources of energy, it's putting different demands on the grid, and they're having to invest money there too. And that all ends up back in the price of energy that we pay for. And so those things are also pushing our bills up and up.
Very good point. And so is there anything that you think consumers can do to protect themselves against this instability?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, like so many things with what's changing with the green transition, to make things more sustainable, including our household budgets, probably about trying to consume a bit less.
Yep.
Now, the first way to consume a bit less energy is to look at what are the big categories of energy consumption in our home, and comfort is obviously the biggest one.
Yeah.
Heating of homes is a really important part of the energy bill. Lots of people are using gas boilers, but as more of that's shifting across to heat pumps, which are powered by electricity as well, then we should be thinking more and more about insulation. And so if people can insulate their homes, then they'll use less electricity or less gas to get the comfort level that they want. And then they're using less. And so they're spending less.
Yeah. And that can start from quite small actions that you can take, like using draft excluders, through to more expensive technology. I remember when I first moved into a rental property, I was told to put tin foil behind my radiator to try and keep the heat in.
Reflect it back in,
exactly.
Rather than lose it through the walls. Yeah.
So, quite a cost-effective tip on how to do that.
Very good thing to do.
But then there's other ways that people can invest in improving their energy usage and helping them save. Something quite closely related to what we do is investing in solar.
You're talking to somebody who now has solar panels on their roof.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
As of this month?
So as of the end of last summer. So this summer has been the first season really where we've seen the kind of the full benefits of it. It does work outside of the summer, surprisingly. I wasn't expecting that. But yeah, absolutely. We've been running our home pretty much all the time in the summer, and then to a lesser extent in the spring and in the autumn with solar on the roof. And it is quite an investment, but the payback period is getting shorter because the quality of the solar panels is improving, the cost of solar panels is coming down, and there has been some good financing arrangements out there as well. And as a result, after 6, 7, 8 years, you can be looking at having paid those off, and then all of the electricity is free. So there's a bit of an upfront cost, but it's definitely a way of ultimately reducing bills. One thing I've seen as we've been sort of working in Powerverse is it's become a decision point often for people approaching retirement age, as they're thinking, how do I bring my costs down into my old age as I'm living on a pension? And putting solar is becoming an increasingly popular thing.
I'd also say at any age we think that, not just being old, but like how can we save more money?
Yes, that's true.
So when you talk about getting solar, what was your decision process to make sure that you can maximise the use of them?
Yeah, so it's a great question and a good topic, because it is a subject that we just don't know anything about, do we? Coming into renewables in the home and home generation for the first time. But what I found out is a micro generation certification scheme, MCS, and there are around about 2,000 accredited installers in the UK. And if you contact one of them, they will have the accreditation that shows they have the skill to help you through the process. And that's pretty important, because you need to look at the roof, understand about the aspect of the roof, understand something called the solar irradiance, which is how much sunlight will my latitude on the globe be able to consume. And then it's a case of working out what the best installation pattern is. And for me, I've worked with some really nice guys that came along and took a look and put up the scaffolding, put the solar panels on, and it was a relatively organic process where they sort of talked to me and said we can fit another panel there, or we could put another one over there, and then we worked it out as we went. So I think that'll continue to be a big topic as to how we get the country to start generating more of its own electricity on the roof.
Absolutely. And you mentioned earlier it's an investment up front, but actually the saving long term can be really beneficial for people. Not only are you more energy independent with them, but if you invest in having a battery, it allows you to generate revenue and you can sell back to the grid when there are the intermittency issues that we talked about.
Absolutely. With the export guarantee, if you've got electricity stored in your battery, you can get a healthy sum of money per kilowatt hour, which is the measurement of the electricity you're exporting on a kind of kilowatt hour. So how many kilowatts, if you look at it over the term of an hour, would you be exporting, and you get paid on that basis. I think the rate I've got is 15 pence per kilowatt hour. So if I store some electricity and I'm not going to use it, but the grid requires it, then I can sell it back.
Yeah, so that is a long-term investment. It's paying for itself. So we've covered solar panels and how you can insulate your home better. And then other ways that people can save money on their energy is also by switching to a fixed tariff.
That's it. And it is something that sounds, frankly, extremely boring for people to look at, but it's such an important thing to go and do some research. Most people that we talk to in our line of work, and most consumers, won't be able to tell you what tariff they're on. They probably signed up to one of the utilities when they moved in and probably didn't ever really go and look carefully at it to understand if they were on the best deal, at least as frequently as they should, being on a tariff that kind of protects you from those peaks. And also, as more technology gets introduced, there is a chance for consumers to take advantage of sort of automating when they use electricity as well. And obviously a lot of what we do is around that, and helping people to schedule the use of things like, well, when would I charge up my electric car? If it's a sunny day, maybe I should put the electricity into my battery and then use it when electricity is going to cost me more in the evening on a certain tariff. So you can start to blend these things together, which is the type of tariff and the time of use and the cost with actually coordinating that better using technology.
Yeah.
And so there's opportunities in there as well for the consumers.
That's a great point. And we've talked a lot about having your EV charger, having solar panels, having a battery, potentially there being a lot that you might have to think about. But there are opportunities out there where you can make that easier. And I guess it would be great to talk about what's out there in the market that helps consumers to navigate this new world. So let's talk more about Powerverse and what we do to help people out there who are struggling to understand their energy usage, save money, save on carbon, and really make their lives more convenient.
At Powerverse, we are trying to help consumers to reduce their energy bills, and we're trying to help them be more sustainable so that they can reduce the amount of carbon that they're putting into the atmosphere with the energy that they use. And we also know that that's not very easy because there's, as we've been talking about, lots of things going on around, have I insulated my home? Am I on the right tariff? Is now a good time for me to be thinking about some of these alternatives like solar and so on? So I suppose at Powerverse, the way we talk about it is we're trying to help consumers to unthink energy, aren't we?
Yeah. Exactly. So how can we make that more accessible, easier to understand? Everyone's got quite a lot of mental load. So let's take that away by introducing our smart energy assistant called Raya, who is the star of the show, I'd say.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So most of us don't think energy is sexy, but Raya thinks energy is sexy. And Raya will spend the time understanding the consumption of the energy in the home and then making better choices, which can be done automatically or can be done with a bit of help with the person saying, yes, I'd like to do this, I'd like to do that, such as, when I charge my car and so on. So people will be thinking, well, what does that mean? A smart energy assistant's a great idea, but, does that live on a shelf in my house somewhere? Well, no, it's easier than that because it's in an app, isn't it? So We have an app which our customers use to access Raya, our smart energy assistant, and to automate those things and make their life easier, using our AI.
The main thing that we wanted is for this to be a user-friendly app, something that manages multiple devices within your home so you don't have that complex situation of having multiple apps with multiple interfaces. What Powerverse and Raya does is allow you to connect a broad number of devices in one app and helps you control your overall energy usage, and it provides tracking so you can see how much you're spending. It adapts to your lifestyle. So Raya will make that change for you.
Technology coming to the rescue in a complicated environment where people may not know what the right answer is, and on a subject which is a bit mysterious for lots of people.
Yep.
And that's really what we want to do. And that's what thousands of our customers are doing today. They open the app, they set some of their preferences for Raya, and then they can forget about it. And their energy costs and their carbon will start to come down.
So Raya is there to help people unthink energy and make their lives easier. Rely on your smart energy assistant. It's the way forward. And now we are going to do a quick fire round of questions on climate change and climate crisis and see how much you know.
And thanks for that, because I wasn't expecting any of this and I didn't know this bit was going to happen. So we'll find out, won't we?
Well, so it's an education for everyone out there. So, you could
an
end up
education
with...
for everyone out there on how much I know about climate change, or an education for everyone out there on climate change? I think it's
on climate change. Yeah. This is for the people out there.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see.
Okay. Question 1 is, which activity contributes the most to greenhouse gas emissions? And I'm going to give you some options here.
Okay.
So, generating electricity, transportation, raising cattle, and making things like steel, cement, plastics, etc.
Well, everyone talks about kind of cattle and cows, don't they? And how bad that is. And I reckon that's quite bad. And that's methane rather than carbon dioxide. So that's not great. And then all the fertilizers. The production process of fertilizers is brutal in terms of the amount of carbon. But I think the one that's worse than that is the production process for cement and plastics and all of that. Actually, making cities is probably the most carbon intensive thing that we do. And if we can crack that, we'll take a very big dent out of the amount of carbon we use.
Yep. Very good points. And you got the answer right.
Okay.
So good start. So the second question is, what percentage of the UK energy is from renewables? I will caveat this is from 2023.
And the answer is, it depends.
Okay.
I think on a windy day in the middle of summer when the sun's shining, probably 100%.
Yeah.
And on a still dark night, it probably drops off an awfully long way. So, well, let's take a guess somewhere a bit above the middle. I'm going to say 60%.
60%. I feel like your logic was good. It is slightly lower than that.
Okay.
So it's 42%.
42%.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And improving.
So that's not bad. And that's moved a lot in the last decade, I think. So
yeah.
There's that kind of exponential curve going on, isn't there, with the amount of solar installation and the amount of wind installation. So let's do this again in a year's time, see what we get.
That also leads me really nicely onto the next question, which is, which renewable energy source generates the most electricity in the UK?
In the UK?
In the UK.
It's got to be wind.
That's correct.
I know.
Very
I've lived here my whole life.
Yeah.
And it's windy more often than it's sunny.
Unfortunately for us. Okay, next question is, what percentage of households in the UK have smart meters installed as of 2023?
55.
Ooh, okay. So we'll do the higher and lower here.
Okay.
Lower.
Okay. 48.
Higher.
51.
Lower.
Okay.
Very close.
Yeah.
50%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly half.
I haven't got the absolute exact number, but that's another way that consumers can get more control of their energy, is to install a smart meter.
A lot of the stuff we've talked about around energy costing different amounts at different times of day and so on, that really only comes to life for consumers and the tariffs if they've got a smart meter. So you're absolutely right.
Absolutely. So if you haven't got one, go and get one. This is my last question, which you'll probably be very relieved. So what renewable energy device can homeowners get installed to help them reduce their dependence on the grid?
Well, I reckon we've talked about this already, because we spoke about most of the generation and storage that people can get, which is what reduces their dependency on the grid. So I'm going to go for solar for their own production and then battery for their own storage.
That's correct. Finish on a high. Okay, that's the end of the quiz. So well done.
Well, thank you. I'm glad it's over. And, better try harder next time, I think is going to be the comment on my exam paper, isn't it?
You'll need to swat up for next week. Yeah.
Okay.
So be prepared. So that brings us to the end of our podcast today. Have you learned anything new?
I've learned that 50% of homes in this country have a smart meter. And so that lucky 50% can get better tariffs and save more money than the 50% that haven't. Have you learned anything today, Lauren?
I have learned that you have solar panels on your home. And so you are making smart decisions.
I have got solar panels, and now that you know that I've got solar panels, I will bore you senseless about the solar energy I'm generating.
Well, I can't wait to hear about that. So that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Next Time Around. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn. Just search Powerverse, or share it with somebody who you think might find it interesting and helpful. To find out more about our software, visit our website www.powerverse.com. Thank you for listening. Until next time.